Why a viral video can control government policy. Governments, or at least, well, yeah, I would say governments plural, because not just ours, but the governments all over the world, they no longer seem to respond to facts. They respond to pressure, mob mentality, and viral attention, things that go viral on social media and so forth. It creates pressure faster than anything else. A viral video can move faster than reports, investigations, data, the law, a trial, right? So, once millions of people see something, leaders are forced to react to it. And not because it's proven, but because it's visible. And it's everywhere. And they end up making decisions in that moment to placate the masses who radically need to be placated in a very quick manner, because a video that may or may not even be factual went viral. This is a problem. And first of all, the first thing I want to say is that virality feels like reality. It's not, though, but it feels like it. So a short clip spreads around on the internet, and suddenly everyone's talking about the same story. And even though no one really knows the full context of the story yet, everybody's made their assumptions. Now, social media has these, you'll notice that if you're scrolling, that sometimes if you minimize the window, go to talk to somebody or text, and then go back to comment, it's gone. It'll auto refresh, and poop, all of a sudden it's like the thing you were about to comment on just disappeared. And the reason why that happens is because they try to create a FOMO, fear of missing out. They want you to react immediately. The problem with that is that when people react to what they see on social media, the goal, right, for the individual is they say to themselves, I don't know all the information. I don't know everything, if it's true or not. All I know is how this makes me feel. And right now, I want to react according to how this makes me feel. I want to comment right now. And I need to right now, because if I don't, I'll miss my opportunity to. And so that person will comment. And a lot of times, because they're emotional, they'll comment with the most egregious statement, something that's completely, offensive or triggering to people or whatever. And then along comes somebody else who sees the story, reads through the comments, sees that triggering statement, and just like that person, they get emotional. And because of FOMO, just like that other person, they want to react very quickly. So they reply to that comment, and they try to outdo them by being even more offensive, even more triggering, even more insane. And so you end up with a comment section under these news articles that are on social media that are essentially a painting of the worst of humanity, and not really anything that's reality. People's responses are not grounded in reality, and the news story itself is not grounded in reality. And so people who live on the internet all day long, doom scrolling and scrolling on the internet on their phone, and if your reality is that all day, then you're really no longer in reality. You're in the land of make-believe all day long. Politicians have an incentive to react to the pressure of the people. That's in their incentive. Doesn't mean if it's true. Doesn't matter if it's true. Like recently, I forget the name of the YouTuber who went and made that video about fraud in Minneapolis. Now, granted, could be true, could not be true, but it doesn't matter. It went so viral that it created such outrage with people who don't even know if it's true or not, that now politicians are passing legislature to thwart something that may not even be true. And they need to do that because as a politician, waiting makes you look weak. You have to immediately respond. See, people, I care about you and how you feel. So there's an immediate reaction. There's an immediate reaction to the viral video. Not policy, not the law, not the data, not the facts, not an investigation, but right then and there, they are responding to human emotion and overreaction to a viral video. And if they don't, and they remain silent on it, they look guilty. They look like they're a part of the scam. They look like they're in on the scam. And then you get the narrative of the hero and the villain. The hero and the villain. Oh, you want to fix Minneapolis? You know, you got on one side, they're saying, if you want to fix the fraud in Minneapolis, you're the problem because there is no fraud in Minneapolis. Well, we don't know that. Maybe there is. And then you have on the other side, you have people going, we need to do something about all that fraud in Minneapolis. And it's like, well, do we even know that there's all that fraud in Minneapolis? And instead of anyone waiting to find out the truth, everybody's jumping to the conclusion of whatever narrative they bought into that has appealed to them the most. You know, their own bias. And fast reactions for politicians feel safer from a career standpoint than careful ones. So if a politician was like, well, let's wait, we don't know all the facts, the public would crucify him. Because you must be in on it then. You must be in on it. And the outrage creates a sense of urgency. Calm information doesn't really spread. Things that are presented in a calm and normal way do not go viral, right? It's the panic factor. It's the thing that emotionally triggers you that goes viral. So emotion loses their mind. Emotion goes viral. And anger, fear, and shock, they move faster than nuance. So a boring policy, it goes unnoticed, while an emotional video can get millions of views. And suddenly, it demands action from politicians. And it's funny because if it is true, if the video is true, then why did it take so long? Why did it take a viral video to get them to act? And if it isn't true, then now they have to act to make it look like they're solving a problem, putting a big Band-Aid on a wound that may or may not even exist. And then quietly behind the scenes, they'll walk back from that decision making and you won't hear about it. So they'll make a policy right then and there that says, we're going to do something right now about this. And it could be reactionary just to appease the masses. But later on behind the scenes, they roll back on that stuff when you're not even aware of it. It's just such a dog and pony show. It's a song and dance. And everybody's just dancing along. You know, social media turns the public into a pressure machine. It literally creates mob mentality. And we all know this, but millions of people reacting at once, losing their mind over something causes, you know, leaders feel like they're being basically pressure cooked, like they're under the watchful eye of the people. And now any move they do or don't do is under the scrutiny of the public. So if every move that they do feels like it's going to be judged in real time, then mistakes feel permanent. And it's better to react and appease the public and then walk back on the decision later if you're wrong than publicly say that you want to wait and be completely, you know, roasted by the public as either being involved or out of touch Because if later it turns out that this whole thing was true, then you were weak and you waited too long to do something about it. That's from the political standpoint. That's what they're thinking. That's what they're thinking. So even if a claim isn't confirmed, leaders act mainly because backing away later feels worse than acting early. And there's a justification behind that to win your support, obviously. But I've seen social media, somebody post something on social media about, here's a great example. I saw a post that was about a guy that they said assaulted a 7-year-old. And in the picture, it just says, man arrested for the assault of a 7-year-old in front of their father. Right? Something like that. And everyone lost their minds. He should be this, he should be that, burning them down, blah, 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 blah. I'm avoiding a lot of the real harsh statements because I don't really want to have any issues on my channel saying them. But at the end of the day, when I clicked it and looked at the article, it turned out that he's a really good guy. He just happened to be drunk one night, and in his drunken whatever, he felt the need to discipline a child for something. And then she smart-mouthed him or something, and then he held her there in one place. That's all he did. He constrained her because he was trying to be like a disciplinarian, and he was drunk. And I'm not condoning that. Obviously, that's stupid to be drunk, number one, and to be trying to restrain someone else's child. But it was nowhere near what the headline projected. And thousands of people made comments that were so horrendous and atrocious about what they wanted to do to this guy when they didn't even really know what the heck the story was. They had no idea. And this stuff goes viral when this stuff goes viral, I mean, people don't even know if somebody's innocent or guilty. The masses just to make their decision in the first 2 minutes this stuff hits the internet. And then what's crazy is that if 2-3 years later, a good example is Kevin Spacey. He was accused of, I think, 2 or 3 crimes. And the internet went crazy and everybody roasted him, and either a small percentage tried to support him. Some of them just tried to support due process. But the vast majority were like, take him down, ruin him. He's terrible. He's this, he's that. Believe the victim, blah, 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 blah. And he went to court. And in all 3 courts, in front of a jury of 12 in all 3 cases, he won. He was convicted of nothing. Now, there are some people that don't care. There are some people that are like, I don't really care if he was convicted. I feel like he's a horrible person and that's all that matters. Then I find a lot of times that the people that respond like that are always the facts, not feelings crowd. And so I just kind of say to myself, like, what are you talking about? Because it sounds like you're putting your feelings before the law. If the law, which is the decision that was made by a judge and a jury in a courtroom, has decided somebody to be innocent, then that's what that person is. You could disagree with it. You sure can. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion. But at the end of the day, that person was found innocent of charges. And for the rest of their life, that is what is considered true, whether you agree with it or not. That is the fact that he's innocent, whether you agree with it or not, because it was found to be fact by a court and by laws. And usually when things like that happen, it's a long while later when these people are found innocent. And that's always quiet. It's really weird. The accusation is always really loud, but the findings in the court are always really quiet. Another example is the current president, who made the accusation that he was frauded out of the election run last year, or last whatever it was, in 2020. And he made these claims, and he was very loud about them. Very loud about them. But when he was asked in a courtroom with lawyers, his response was, I don't believe I've been frauded. Because in a courtroom, you can't just say whatever you want. And so, social media, mob mentality is having a direct effect on policy, on decision making at the highest level for corporations. Even corporations, like people will say, people will say, oh, Nike, I don't like them. I'm burning their shoes because they did this, or what is it? The pancake syrup company, Aunt Jemima, they were like, oh, whatever accusations were said. And they do these things because of the pressure of the mob mentality on the internet. And then when they do them, because, hey, they're trying to sell products. They're just trying to make, they're just trying to make money. They don't want to, like, anger anybody. So it's in their incentive to, walk back on certain things or remove certain things just to make the mob mentality happy. Even if later it isn't even really walked back on, it's just a public statement. Because how things appear is always more important than accuracy and what's true. And corporations and politicians and all the people that are at the highest level, they're incentivized to make things appear like they're in touch with the mob mentality, while secretly, whatever's true is, kept behind closed doors. They're not vocal about that. They're not public about that. So a policy is announced quickly to calm the public. Hey, look what we're doing. You guys can calm down. We're doing this. Even if it quietly later gets unraveled, removed, knocked down and erased, or altogether, whatever, they'll change things later as the attention that people are giving this issue fades. And viral power on the internet bypasses all previous traditional systems that we used to rely on. We used to rely on court hearings. We used to give a lot of time. It was a slow process to take in all the information, all the nuanced information, and then come up with a long review of what we think. Now, a video that's made by one person can trigger responses that normally would take months through, like, official channels. And I'm not even kidding you. Like, everyone wants to talk about the mainstream media. What are you talking about? Social media is the mainstream media. Social media is the mainstream media. The mainstream media is you. It's always been you, because even CNN, even Fox, even MSNBC, all of these news networks, these news agencies know what you want to hear. And for a very long time, we're just giving you what you wanted to hear to make money. If you didn't want to hear that, they wouldn't have done it. They were just capitalists, and still are. But now you have more power than the mainstream media, because you can make a video that goes viral tomorrow and can get seen by 100 million people faster than CNN could get. CNN, it could take them a week or two to get a narrative in front of 100 million people. Their ratings are like 500,000. So who's really the mainstream media? It's not CNN. It's not Fox. It's you. And here's the even bigger issue. And this is something that, I could leave you guys on, is that if online attention and a viral video can affect government policy, then who's really in charge? Leaders or the algorithm? And can it be argued that whoever is in charge of the algorithm is in charge of making policy? Something to think about. Anyway, I'm Tom Kane. This is another episode of the Executives Playbook. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to follow my channel, subscribe to it, hit the button, hit the bell. You know what to do. Hit the like. Please hit the like on the video. Leave a comment. Yeah, I look forward to entertaining you each day. Love you guys.